Hi,
Hey, Kino, how are you?
I'm okay. And yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to meet you.
So how are you doing? How's your day?
Oh, it's a good day. It's a Friday. I think I just settled a case, which I'm pleased for the my client. And it's beautiful and sunny and wonderful here, so everything's great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Of
Much
course,
appreciated.
of course.
It's going to be a special show because you're quite an extraordinary person,
No, I'm
a
not.
woman in society. To me, you are. To me, you are. Whoever choosing to listen to the episode is going to feel the same as me. I mean, you carry so many special hats, like advocate for mental illness with regards to children,
Yeah.
actress, entrepreneur, singer songwriter, well
Mhm.
established, successful trademark attorney. Like, one of the questions I'm going to ask is, like, how do you do it all? But I mean, that's, for later on. So,
Scheduling
yeah.
and teamwork. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I guess we can start as, like, where did it all start for you? How did you start off? Was it like, I know, like, because it's like, when it comes to like music itself, like
Hmm.
being a singer and a songwriter, like, it's in the DNA. It's
Hmm.
something like we actually born with and we grow up with. So
Right.
did it start with music first for you growing up, or was getting into like law like a passion for you, or was it a hobby at the time?
No.
So how did it also like start for you? Like,
Okay. Well, it did start from a childhood. My mom was a very gifted pianist, and she taught piano. And I wanted to learn. She always taught me that it was a very precious instrument and not a toy to be played with. So she did that like reverse psychology thing on me. And when I finally started taking lessons from her, she would get up to go, flip the cornbread in my lessons or go talk on the phone when she wasn't doing that with her other students. And one of her friends noticed that and said, "You really need to just give her a fair chance and give her another teacher." So she took me to a teacher at my school who said I was really gifted in piano and that I should go to the best teacher in Denver. So it kind of started there with me for music, just getting that foundation in classical and structure. And yeah. But I always had such an intense passion for singing. I was always discouraged from doing so for whatever reason. I think my mom was afraid I would hurt my voice because it was pretty soft. But it eventually
yeah.
started. I got the opportunity to get some training, to do it right. So I get to sing and I get to write songs now, and that is absolutely my passion. I did not want it to become a job because I didn't want the strictures around it. I really wanted it to remain something that I was just passionate about. And law just became an opportunity to do something professional that was going to not land me in the poorhouse like I was told would happen to me as an artist. Um,
Yeah.
and and I also really wanted to learn how to protect my art, so that's why intellectual property.
So like intellectual property and trademark is like something you're truly passionate about.
So trademark is one of the aspects of intellectual property. Copyright is another one, and I wanted to learn those things really well for protecting myself. I mean, I've certainly gotten ripped off. I didn't start smart at all, um, but and it's been a real joy and pleasure. I do get a lot of pleasure out of protecting my clients. I get pretty fiercely emotional when they're being exploited unfairly, and people are just trying to walk away with their work or their hard earned progress in life, and so yeah, I do get passionate about justice. Yeah.
So, with regards to like your clients or the niche or industry, like is it specific or is it diverse that you actually focus on, like your client base?
Hmm. So where I got my intense training in this was from a firm called Lerner Greenberg Stamer. It's the oldest patent firm in the United States, and they have, of course, if your patents are about inventions, things, mechanical inventions or the formulations to solve certain problems, and when people are in that realm, they often want a brand to attach to market their things, and so trademark is always kind of an adjunct of that. So I became a trademark attorney in that firm. Mainly, who I was representing were defense contractors in Germany, and
Okay.
yeah, and nuclear power plants, and weapons manufacturers, and you know deal, and steel manufacturing. But it's all the same thing at the end of the day. It's the same laws apply no matter whether you're creating weapons of mass destruction, or beautiful music to try to get people into a good space. So
So you're quite global, you're international. So you work by yourself, like you got your own firm.
I do have my own firm. I also am affiliated with a couple of other firms, one sort of formally, and when they have things that are, a little bit advanced in that realm, they'll turn to me, and I do that work for them. And then I still have a very close relationship with the primary firm. I really love those guys. They're great. They really, I mean, they gave me a wonderful career. I learned so much from them, and they're just so brilliant. So it's my pleasure to be able to refer things to them, and I call them my friends for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like one of the most complex issues that artists, especially independent artists, within the industry, and like I deal with tons of them, is like when it comes to entertainment law.
Hmm.
And it's so difficult to understand. Like copyright itself can be so complex.
Yes, it really is.
And many of them, especially being like in the independent space, they can't afford to bring on an entertainment attorney. And of course, there's information that's online and so on, and you can learn, self-educate yourself. But it's
No,
really such a complex issue. Do you deal with any artists, like with regards to copyright and trademark within the industry
yes,
itself?
yes, I do. Excuse me. I have a few clients who are in the entertainment industry, and who are singer-songwriters, for instance, or graphic artists, photographers. Yeah, and it's less, it's far more nuanced than people might think it is. It's not just a matter of filing an application. You can have various types of application for the same thing, um, and it can fall apart. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and then even getting into law, that's the thing I really actually don't like about copyright. And the background of copyright is that there were musicians back in the early part of last century who were being exploited by record companies. Um, and the copyright laws developed as a means it was a tax on black men, basically, on black artists. So in any other thing, somebody steals any other space in the world, somebody steals something from you, you can go to court, but not for a song. Not for a song. First, you have to pay a tax to have your song registered, and that tax has to be paid ahead of time, or you're not even entitled to certain protections. Like, so if the tax isn't paid
Wow.
until after the infringement has occurred, you don't have nearly the degree of protection that you otherwise would. And there's a lot of nuances and complexity to it that I find to be quite unfair to artists overall. I'm glad to see the claims board opened at the Copyright Office, so it makes it easier to go in, because the price of protecting a piece of art can really just be so daunting. And when it's often not necessarily large enough in terms of what your compensation would be to warrant going to federal court and incurring all the expenses of it. So I'm really happy that there's a forum now to go directly to the Copyright Office to try to get things resolved. So that's helpful. But I'd really like to see the entire scheme upended and made much more fair. It's ridiculous. There's absolutely no sense whatsoever in forcing somebody to forfeit rights they would otherwise have because they're producing art as opposed to anything else under the sun. If I'm go out and buy a bunch of material and put it in my warehouse, and I want to sell it, and somebody comes and steal it, I can just go to court if I know who they are. So what's the point? I mean, if you can prove it's
Yeah.
yours, what is the point? It doesn't make any sense anymore. It's very unfair.
Yeah.
Never.
And what's like the common cases that you find like within the music industry itself? Like,
Well,
you know,
there's more than cases. I tend to stay away from litigation because I really hate it. If I have to, I'll certainly do so. I don't like having to fight with people. I like helping people to protect themselves, and so there's on that. That's kind of more the role that I take in getting things registered, of course, but also entering into contracts and helping them to make certain that their associations are fair and recorded and that royalties are paid properly. Um, just all the kind of more business aspects of law than litigation. That's more my favorite.
yeah. I think it was Yeah, I think it was last year. Not sure if you know, there was a case against Ed Sheeran for thinking out loud, and because it had likeness to Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
And that case went on, and Ed Sheeran ended up, winning the case. And in his statement, he said something that was so true. In this era of the music industry, sooner or later, someone is going to use some form of likeness from a sample in their music.
Hmm.
It's going to happen. you
Hmm.
know and there's been like so many cases. It doesn't even happen like like at the bottom with the independent artists, but it happens like with the mainstream artists as well.
Yeah.
Like you use a sample from a track and use it in yours, then they find out about it, or the artist passed away, like in this Marvin
Right.
Gaye situation, and then the state is like, okay, look, we're coming after you because you never asked us for permission. And then end of the day is he still managed to win that case.
Hmm. Yeah. I
That
had a
was an
case.
interesting one for me to follow.
Hmm. I had a matter like that with Frida Kahlo. Um, and her artwork, which of course is in the public domain now. However, there's all sorts of aspects of her that have become trademarked, protected by trademark, which can last beyond the life of the artist and just continue on for as long as it's properly protected. So, in music in particular, yeah, the copying it's a matter of degree, and if it's clear that it really belonged to somebody else, I mean, there's so many different elements that are in common, whether it's that or artwork. I've got a case now, it's artwork. And, they didn't take the entire picture, but they took an aspect of this picture, an aspect of that picture, an aspect of another picture, all within an entire collection and created something. So it's definitely an infringement. Um, but it's discretionary. I mean, it's in the eye of whomever you're in front of, a judge or a jury, and you just don't know. I mean, people can say that it's different, and sometimes it is really different. Sometimes it is uniquely inspired. There are only so many. There are actually tremendous numbers of variations. I wouldn't even venture a guess as to how many different ways that you can combine aspects of music. There's certain things that, of course, are pretty standard, and people may say, oh, that's mine and it was taken, and yeah, but like 100 years ago Bach was doing that. So yeah, really. So I think it is really a matter of degree and how much is captured, and if there's similarities not only in terms of the tune, but timbre of words, or it's topic, you know um, combinations of different instruments. I mean, there's no one yes it is or no it isn't. It really is piece by piece. You have to make that determination.
Yeah, I think we could speak like for hours on this topic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because I've just been like, over the years, I've been so intrigued about entertainment law. I guess because I
Mhm.
also, uh, I think your video cut off a bit.
I can hear
Oh, yeah,
you.
there you're back again.
Okay. I can hear you fine.
Okay, you
Yeah.
got me. Yeah, no.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. So I guess because I also, for myself personally as an artist, I've also ended up like in hot water, but I was in the right.
Mhm.
But it can really become so complex at times. But I mean, the experience is beneficial in the long run because at least I know, okay, how to handle certain aspects when it comes to, such cases.
Yeah.
Like
I think
a lot
it's
of
really.
artists, they battle with this area. But
Mhm.
it's good to know. So, I mean, okay, one more question. I know you're not here to discuss your law career. So, from your point of view, how do you feel about now in this digital era moving into the future of blockchain technology? Because
Mhm.
now if you create something, you can
Mhm.
register that on the blockchain on a smart
Mhm.
contract.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
what's your take on that?
Oh, I
Like,
love
how
the
do you feel about it?
I love that. I love being able to embed things in your songs, to identify. So if it really is just somebody came up with an independent idea that was different from yours, then there'll be no trace of it. But, so I like the idea of it being able to be traceable. I think that's smart. I love
That's
it. I
smart.
actually really love it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, same here, same here,
Yeah.
same here,
Yeah.
same here. It's gonna make life easier, as we go
Yeah.
along, knowing you got that control to actually
What I'm really
put
not
it
crazy
onto the block.
about is the whole artificial intelligence thing. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of noise now about that.
Yeah, I heard a song on the radio maybe about a year and a half ago, and I thought, my Lord, that's got to be AI because it was all the elements that you would kind of think of that would make a great song. They were all there, but it bored me to no end. It didn't have life in it. Didn't have life
No
in it. So,
storyline at all. Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
So I think that
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
probably safe, but I really don't like the idea of AI being able to especially in the contracts now, um, with the unions, that AI can, an artist can contract to do some work, and if they're not specifically excluding the right to copy their voice and use it in other aspects, then they can actually lose ownership of their voice. It can be sampled and other words can be put to it because there is certainly the technology to do that, and the unique timbre and tone of their voice can be used for other things without them being compensated. I thought that was horrific. I think it's the worst thing that's happened in the legal field and for artists in a while.
Yeah, I there's a company that's come up now, and they just signed a partnership deal with Universal. So what this company is going to do is it's going to monitor AI generated music. So the composers and the original songwriters of that AI content, this company is going to ensure that they do get compensated per use. So
Okay.
each time that AI track is actually used, they're going to get compensated. I'm just making an assumption it's like similar to your performance rights organizations. They
Hmm.
monitor when your track is used in public and so on and ensure you get the royalties for that.
Hmm.
So I feel like this company is going to monitor that and ensure that those original composers, do get paid.
That's great.
So yeah,
That's
only the
important.
future is going to tell what's to come. I don't think AI is something that's just going to disappear. It's just
No.
going to grow, if anything. There's massive investments going now into the industry, and I guess it's so open because like it's sad and also opens up opportunities. The sad part is it's like becoming no longer about the music anymore.
Hmm.
It's becoming about bottom line right from it. That's what it's
Well,
about now.
yeah, I think that the thing that touches music is passion. Touches people in music is
Yeah.
passion. And so it's that the conveying of, whether it's really just through the delicate way you're playing a string on the violin or the words in the song, it's the human sharing that makes these things so special. And I don't think you can actually artificially duplicate that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I do think that
Yeah.
there's a place for AI. I've started a business for children, for the as we spoke of briefly, for their mental health, and we plan on using uh, artificial intelligence, and is to allow children to interact in an intelligent way, if their caregivers so choose, with characters in our stories, so that we can identify if their interactions are signaling some sort of distress.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So that's a way I think that can be, and then their parents would be advised, or their teacher would be advised. Um, not something to keep track of kids, certainly nothing like that. And certainly nothing to um, impose upon or try to, figure out the where or the why about it, not trying to interfere with any sort of familiar um, sensibilities and privacy rights or anything like that. But if a child is really acting in a way that's very odd, so we can see um, perhaps the beginnings of sociopathic behavior developing, for instance, and give that child an opportunity to have that stemmed and addressed so that they can grow up healthy. I think there's some really gorgeous uses for AI, and I hope
Yeah,
they
yeah, no,
make smart
100%.
use of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with your music personally, so have you like released any of your own music, or do
Ah.
you just do it like as like a hobby for now?
Well, I'm singing with a group called Brazilian Voices, and it's a bossa nova group. We have a performance on, I'm plugging them, on September 14th at the Aventura Center for the Performing Arts. And it is a gorgeous concert. It's one of my favorite collections of their music, in Portuguese, actually. Um, a really beautiful, soulful music about, well, I'll just say it, the Amazon, about the Amazon. And so
Okay.
it's a joy and a pleasure beyond belief to be able to sing with this group. The harmonies and the arrangements are just really, really outstanding. And the bossa nova became, when I was old enough to have, maybe before I was old enough to have a favorite music, it became my favorite music. I was 6 years old, and I remember the moment I first heard a bossa nova song, and I was sunk. That was it. It was captured.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I do write some things. I've got a couple of songs up. I guess if you dig around and look for Lillian Taylor Štajnbaher photography, there's some links that go to some music as well. I'm working on, and those are just, one of them is something that I wrote. Other people have performed it. It was actually the theme to my podcast when I had one called Get Up and Shine. And then the other one is a song called Purpose, just about how dystopic life actually seems, given what we need, what we see on the world stage, and the sorts of things that we are uh, enduring in certain quarters of the world, and just on a day-to-day basis in life, the monotony of slaving away at a senseless job for what purpose? So that's just so that you can eat. So just asking sort of as existential questions about life. Then I have a really fun song that I've been working on called Bahia, and it's a samba salsa paella, I like to call it. And really looking forward to releasing that. And it'll be the first one that's going to get some serious juice behind it in terms of helping people get to know it and dance along to it and get some airtime.
Yeah. Yeah. So like there's a lot of purpose behind your music, which is like really cool. It's
Mhm.
really cool. Yeah, it
Yeah.
reminds me, like I had a guest a few weeks ago. Her name is Dr. Diane Kaufman. So she has an organization which is called the Hold On Campaign. So her mandate is to use her art to actually prevent suicide. Like she's a suicide
Oh,
activist.
beautiful. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what she does is she writes all the lyrics, and then she
Mhm.
hires like freelancers, singers, and so on to actually put the vocals on it, and then she
Mhm.
creates all like these cool visuals and she puts it online. You know,
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, like I'm so lucky, especially over the last few weeks, like all the guests that I've had come on, like I'm just blown away by them. Like if you show them to the public, the first thing people think, okay, no, it's a singer-songwriter, it's a normal artist, but they're backed up by so much more purpose, and they've just like diversified,
Mhm.
the skill to actually, do better and make the world a better place.
Yeah. It feels good,
Which
doesn't
is
it?
so
When you're doing things good for people, right?
Yeah, it's I mean, when people listen, they also get inspired. When I'm here sitting here and listening to you now, for example, like I also get inspired because just being like an artist who's just writing and releasing music is just not enough. It needs to be backed up by something bigger. And I think I've been saying that like a lot over the last few weeks, because
Mhm.
everyone that comes on is saying the exact same thing.
Mhm.
How are you using your brand? How are you using your music
Mhm.
to actually make society better? Because,
Mhm.
going back to what you said about, like the music, there has to be passion behind it. There has to be like feeling behind it,
Right.
because your music needs to change someone's life and
Right.
view of the world at the moment. Like, even if
Mhm.
it's one person out of the billions, at least you've
Mhm.
changed one person's life.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
I'm agreeing with you, AI music will never accomplish that. So big
Yeah.
ups to you, with your music. And I mean, it just compliments you all the way.
Oh, thank you.
You know,
Well, I think that
yeah,
music. So, I mean, for me, there have been times, everyone goes through ups and downs in their lives, and for me, music has been one of those things when I'm been a little blue or something that I can turn to
yeah,
just to uplift me. So it
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah,
value, even if it's not, it might be a silly song, but it's just fun to say that tongue twister, those words, or it can be a very sorrowful song that isn't necessarily like I have this collection of music that I'm going to release one day about love, and it's very sad about all the different ways that love went wrong in my life. And it's not that maybe it will help somebody because they can relate to it. They're going through that, so they can, they have company, and they'll, and hopefully it'll be also that message that you'll get through it. There's another, there's the other side to that journey, or the end of that journey, and bright skies, and fun to be had. It doesn't end, So I think that even if it's not a protest music, or deeply reflective, it can still serve a really you know about global issues. It can serve a good purpose. I think that, I mean, even instrumentals can just make you feel. I mean, that's one of the
yeah,
things I love about this bossa nova. I've just started translating a lot of the songs more recently, just because it makes it easier for me to remember. But I didn't need to translate it to absolutely be in love with it and have such an amazingly good feeling from just the warmth of the vocals, um, the intricacies of the rhythms. You know, Africa likes to get into things and mix it up, and
yeah.
as it did with bossa, and it just just allowing you to feel more in life, I think, is important. Looking at a piece of art on the wall, and it might not get the artist's message, but it might speak to you because of where you are in that moment. I think art is so valuable in terms of just enriching our experiences.
Like, helps you find yourself, who you truly
Yeah,
are, you
exactly.
know. And we
Yeah,
never know who we truly are. I mean, there's no like, okay, you're gonna know who you are when you're in your teens or 20s or 30s. You just never know.
right.
You're gonna transcend into so many different people along this journey.
Yeah,
So some form of art is really gonna assist you with that.
yeah, I agree.
You know.
Totally. Hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so man, I'm gonna look forward to, like, I actually went on, like, the moment like I get like a guest recommendation. So the first
Hmm.
thing I do is I go on Spotify and then I search. So I was like
Oh,
looking for, like, to check whether you got music on it. And then I came
yeah.
across there is a profile on Spotify that's Lillian Taylor as well. And I'm like,
Oh,
then I go in and like, no wait, this is not her.
that's not
Doesn't
her.
look like her.
I know there are so
Doesn't-
many Lillian Taylors. It's very, I mean, I love my name. Don't get it wrong, but it's just
but
post music up. It becomes difficult.
yeah.
So I've chosen some other NIMS to use. I'll send you a list, and I'll send you some links.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, with your name, I was shocked because, like, okay, you saying now that there's so many, Lillian Taylors out there. But for me, it's such like a unique name. Like, I've
Really?
never come across, someone else, until now. like so much authority behind it, like walking into a room like, I'm Lillian Taylor, imagine, you know, like so much authority behind it. So it's a
No,
cool
when I walk
name.
into the room, I can be the shy little girl who's afraid to speak to anybody, and one day, or I can just be ready to be, engaged and intrigued by what's going on, or just walking curious. I'm just like any other bloke, just another human being. Yeah. No
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
authority here, and I have no ambitions. I have no ambitions for political authority at all, at all.
Yeah. But I mean, you in law, that comes with
Yeah.
authority, But you like a chill, cool lawyer. Not like these ones, where you don't get a smile out of them, when they're looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad. You should always be able to smile, especially at yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, attorneys need to become like more friendly. That I think
It
they'll
won't
probably like
hurt.
win more cases.
I have to say the profession has really changed from when I first started. It was a gentleman's game. And even if you were in combat with someone, I'd say 90% of the time there was courtesy on the other end, camaraderie. Maybe you didn't, of course you didn't agree with everything and you didn't maybe necessarily give ground, but you were decent to each other in terms of, just not screaming and yelling over each other and just being able to be civil. And I found that more and more lately that's not the case. People think that because they've got the biggest mouth, and the ugliest bark, that something is being accomplished. And it's like, well, you can do that. Maybe I'm not so good at barking as loud as you are, but guess what? Your bark does not have anything to do with what the law is. The law is the law is the law. So you can be
Yeah,
as
yeah,
ugly
yeah.
as you want to be. I don't know what you're thinking you're going to accomplish except for make both of us miserable. And what is the sense of that? I don't even understand how that is. It's not professional and it's not purposeful. It doesn't really do anything. No attorney worth their salt is just going to walk away because they're scared of your bark. It's the
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
bite. Everybody can bite, so,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about that, right? So, it's interesting.
No,
I don't
you
really get it. Mhm.
no, you spot on. Like how when you say like, how the industry has changed, like for me now attorneys are like even though they still got that stern look, and they don't want to smile at you, but they're becoming more accommodating. And now because we're living in this era like where like free education is online, like even when it comes to the law, like I
Yeah.
mean if before, like I mean if we look 10 years back and you got a letter from an attorney for whatever,
Mhm.
people were like really scared. Okay, now I'm like in trouble. You feel like a
Mhm.
kid and the principal is calling you to the office.
Mhm.
But these days when you get a letter from an attorney, you can actually like decipher it, like the
Mhm.
jargon and so on, what it actually means. Like there's a charity shop that's close to where I actually stay, and I walked in there a week ago, and there's this law textbook there, that was donated. So I
Mhm.
purchased it, and and just like by going through it, reading it, okay, what this means, what that means,
Mhm.
understanding the language,
Mhm.
as you said, now we can all bite. So you just need to be like an attorney with good intentions. And I think
Right.
like for you, you like in a good like niche, like what you do, like copyright and trademark. But for
Mhm.
all of the other guys, they don't get on board with this or evolve with this and start realizing that people can also start barking now and they can also bite back without even having legal representation behind you. You're
Mhm.
not going to survive. You know, you're going to
Well, yeah,
become redundant.
I think that there is certainly I think it's a smart idea to get educated. And I always encourage, I require my clients is like, you're not signing it until I understand that you understand every single solitary clause that's in there. Not only because you need to know what you're committing to and what's owed to you, But what if I'm not there and somebody's trying to negotiate some deal with you, and you don't, the more educated you are about what's in those contracts, the better you are able to look out for yourself. And that's a good thing. I don't underestimate our value, though, as attorneys, because if you're an artist, your life isn't being law. You don't have 7 to 12 to 18 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week for decades of experience. So there's no possible way that you can know to look out for everything that may be a factor. So never underestimate the value of an attorney, because of the experience that they bring, and the scope and depth of knowledge that they have is not going to match a little bit of research that you can do online. But I think
Yeah.
it's it.
I guess you just need to choose wisely,
Yeah,
choose an attorney wisely.
that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
there's like a few out there that will just take you down this long road, and it's going to be like bill after bill after bill, and there's no positive result for you, like as a client.
Mm-hmm.
When there was like, it comes down to like ethics, ethics,
Mm-hmm.
principles, values. Like, if you can take like a shorter route that's actually going to like save your client, couple thousands, take that route.
Mm-hmm.
Choose
Depends.
wisely. I don't know. For me, like, choose
Yeah.
wisely.
Yeah, it depends. It depends. I mean, I'm, involved in a case right now where the client is just his health is not good. And he just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And I keep advising him not to take that deal. He doesn't owe that money, and not, they're just being really unfair. And he just, keeps letting himself get pushed and pushed. And now they're at the point where they think they're going to push him over the cliff. But I mean, it's his livelihood that they're talking about. And so finally, he's at the point where he's listening to me, and it's like, yeah, it might have saved you. It didn't save you a bunch of dollars to just agree. It wasn't the short route. It actually extended the period of time where this was going on. My bill is much more than if I had been hard, because I have to keep coming back with more and more and more, responses to their various asks and additional asks and additional asks. And, and at the end of the day, they have a really weak case. They actually have no case to speak of. So now it's cost the client a lot of money that could have been much better spent on, his business, rather than this fiasco that now he's paid all this money to me, and we're back right where we started at the beginning with this settlement, which was already unfair to him, blowing up because he's not going to let himself get pushed out of business. It's just ridiculous. So money's not everything. His well-being was more important, in trying to protect his health and trying to not put him into, get him out of positions of having to be waiting for a judge to make a decision, just wanting to settle so that the stress can go away. I mean, sometimes that's far more important, and the well-being of the client is absolutely the first thing that comes, more so than
100%.
So, yeah. And then, honor, dignity, and respect. And then there's the money now and versus the money later. So is the short run savings really going to be a savings in the long run? I mean, maybe, for instance, you don't really need to protect your trademark. It's like having a car insurance. What are the odds that you're going to get into a car wreck? Well, really not that high. And if you do get in, it's probably going to be a really minor wreck. But if you do get in a major wreck and you don't have auto insurance, you've lost your car, it was fault. I mean, what other exposures do you have? So it might save the client money to actually go and get that trademark. But at the end of the day, when somebody else is trading off of their brand, then we can go after them in a very aggressive way, whereas we couldn't have done that if we hadn't spent those thousands of dollars over the course of a few years. So, there's balances. There's balance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Murphy's Law works in mysterious ways. You could be paying that insurance for like 10 years, and you're like, okay, I haven't been in an accident in 10 years. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to save this money. The
Yeah.
next day, an
Yes.
accident.
Yes. Murphy is everybody's best friend when they don't want them
Yeah.
to be a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, The Essence of a Woman, the book
Ah,
that you currently busy with or finished, am I correct in saying it's still going to be released later this year, or is
it's
it
going to
already
be
been released?
released. Yeah, it's being released in just a few days, actually.
Is
I'm
it?
yeah, and I'm a contributor to that book with some pretty other really seriously amazing women. I can't wait to read their chapters in it. I was actually, I guess I don't want to do a complete spoiler, but I had a very serious illness from the time that I was young, that lasted most of my life, and it was it was I didn't need to be sick. It was an environmental disaster that caused it, and so it's my story about that and about my essence of a woman and what that meant to me in that journey and um, how I used it or how important it was to hang on to through that journey so that I was not defeated by it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So it's your life story, and you decided now to just share it with the world.
It's a very
But
small part. It's a long part of my life story, but it's a very small part of my life story. Yeah.
so when you say that, so each person that you're involved with has done a chapter. Is it all
Each
like related to you or to their life as
No,
well?
to each other, to other lives. So it's the essence of the woman for each woman who's written their chapter, and it's about all sorts of different things. So my chapter is about that aspect of my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay. I see you keeping a lot of the
You're gonna have
important
to
information
read
into.
it. You're gonna
Yeah,
have
you have to read it. Yeah, yeah, true. You have to read it. So like so is the book now just like solely dedicated for women out there in the world? So like yesterday, if I have to read it, will it also be like impactful for me as a male?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, everyone has, these are stories of deep inspiration. And I'm saying this just based upon what I understood the criteria to be. So it's drawing from things that you've gone through that can be inspiring for others to look at. So reading my story, it could be, and I start out at the very beginning of it saying, this isn't just my story; it's your story. If you are a farm worker who has died because of pesticide exposures or who is seriously ill because of pesticides. It's your story. If you were, using tobacco all of your life and you now have throat cancer, it's your story. If you happen to live next door to, a landfill or on top of a landfill and you didn't realize it, and there's a cancer cluster around you, that's impacted maybe your daughter or your son. So no matter who you are, you or someone has gone through these sorts of ridiculously unfair challenges with health that have been imposed upon us by industrial life. And I wouldn't say industrial life, I would say the misuse and the unintelligent use of industry. And sometimes that is because of lack of knowledge. And I think when we started way back in the what 1920s, I think it was, or 1930s, 40s, with the diesel engine, the sort of damage that diesel would be doing to the environment. It wasn't our intention to do that. It was our intention to make lives better, so it's unintelligent, but that doesn't mean it's dastardly necessarily. And sometimes it is dastardly. Sometimes it is genocidal. So
Yeah.
yeah. So anybody who has gone through a difficult passage with health because of not their own personal choices, not genetics, not something they inherited, just because of environmental toxins. This is their story. This can be their story. It's something that everyone
Nice.
can relate
Nice.
to.
Nice. And the proceeds from this book, you're going to be donating it to
Hmm.
children's home who are
Hmm.
suffering with mental illness and human trafficking.
Hmm.
So is human trafficking also something that you like extremely like passionate about, as in I want to be an advocate for that?
I have a girlfriend. I would say not necessarily. It's not. It hasn't. I mean, I think it's horrific. It churns my stomach. Um, I don't know. It's hard for me to watch some of the movies that I've watched. It just makes me. I find the kind of cruelties that we as humans can inflict upon each other to just be astonishing and vulgar to a degree that I'll never understand. I'll just never understand it. I don't want to understand it. But there's that I can't say that I've had a lot of devoted time um, trying to bring light to that issue. I'm very thankful that I see these people out there um, who are bringing light. Like my friend who's a part of the it is a fraternity, or I should say sorority of women whose mission it is to try to run interference with this, or to help children to recover from that, as it is Jada Pickett Smith's. And
Mm.
kudos to her. I'm so thankful that's a passion of hers. You know, yeah.
And
So
become can become so difficult when you're passionate about all these things that happen in the world, because alone you can't really solve it. You can help a small portion, and that's why it's
yeah.
so important for like conversations like the one we're having now to just spread the message,
Hmm.
because there's more good people in the world than there is bad, right?
I believe that
It's just that
absolutely.
we need to get the good people to actually like be awakened now and actually like you know make their mark or take a step, because like the one it's like when you talk to people about it,
Hmm.
we're like, okay, join me on this cause, whatever it may be. And then I get told, oh, but we can't change the world, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. We can't change the world, but if we all come together and do our small part, yeah, we can.
You know what?
Down the
We
road, we
can't
can.
change the world. We can change the world. Poland was once in an enclave of the Soviet Union, and they stood up and they said no, and they brought an end to it. We absolutely can change the world, and if the people decide that they've had enough of whatever, I mean, the world is changing in Myanmar. People have had enough of that repression, and it is going to come to an end. They are not standing down. The military is losing. Finally, you thought you'd never see the day when that would happen. So
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
we
100%.
can change the world. We absolutely can change the world. And it's also very important to realize that it might not be the thing you do in a particular moment that is the catalyst. It might be the thing you do that influences somebody who's just sitting across from you on a public bus watching you, who decides to not do something horrible, or who decides, yeah, it's time to leave this guy who's beating me. And so my children are not learning that this is okay, you know, or it could be, a friendly conversation when you have with some world leader that you don't even know who he is, but he's going into a conversation with another world leader and his attitude is better, and they're able to come to an agreement about something that could have been very difficult, and they both wanted to lock horns. So every move you make matters. Every move.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And that's exactly how people should actually view it. I guess we live in a society where people like, okay, what is it in like, what's it for me? What do
Mm-hmm.
I get out of it? It always comes down to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, your message is like extremely strong, emotional and extremely strong as well.
I'm very emotional.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we all lucky to have, people like you yourself, just in the world doing their thing because it
Yeah.
does help. It really
Yeah.
does help. So with all your pursuits, all of it, like where do you see yourself? I know, like, I asked this question last week to someone else, and they're like, sure, 3 years, 5 years,
Uh-huh.
like people don't have like a clear vision on, where they actually want to be, in
Mm-hmm.
3 to 5 years. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
have that sort of vision of
Yes,
where you see
absolutely.
all of this in, like, say,
Absolutely.
3 to 5 years?
I do. So I see the initiative that I've started with Blooming Zennies being rolled out, um, not just in the United States, but extending its reach to other places around the world, and particularly in places where there's a lot of conflict and a lot of disharmony, so that the children can have guidance toward um, navigating life despite the toxic stresses and traumas that they have experienced. And being at the helm of that company, making certain that happens, that's my mission. That is my life. That is my mission. Um, I'd also really love to be, God, wouldn't it be fun to just, go home from work at the end of the day and stop into some little club on Tuesdays and Thursdays and sing a set, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
happy.
yeah.
How fun would that be? Yeah. And, and then just, spending time with my sweetheart and, friends and family and enjoying the riches of love in the evenings and
Yeah,
weekends.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm a big gardener. I really love being out there and getting my hands dirty and growing
Bonding
things.
with nature.
Yeah, and it's been a very enormous. I was the worst, man. My mom had a great green thumb, and she was in her garden all the time. If I touched a plant, I was gonna die. It was really sad, but I learned how. I just kept on until I figured. I went to enough classes that I, figured out. Okay, yeah, that doesn't work, and being in that garden is, I think, really important. I like the idea of learning more and more about all these indigenous plants from around the world so that we can sort of I wouldn't say regrow the Garden of Eden, but like expand upon the garden around the world to have healthier cities, to have more food security for people, to bring down global warming. I mean, if we're all out there gardening all over on rooftops and everywhere we can, we're first of all going to have much stronger immune systems. That's just the nature of being in the garden and being in the dirt and being there and breathing in trees, with the
Yeah,
herbs.
yeah, yeah.
We're going to have better food, less stress, more peace, and a healthier environment. The planet might actually survive us, or we might actually survive what we're doing to the planet if everybody's doing more gardening. So get your shovel, get your get your seeds, yeah, get out there and get dirty, and you know have
Yeah,
some
yeah.
fun. Everybody do that.
I think you need to run for public office.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That should be like, that's it, the final goal.
No.
And
No. Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
can look back one day and say, I did it all.
Yeah.
I did it all.
Yeah. I'd make a mess of that because I tell you, I'd be like, where is Putin right now? Blow that mofo up. You know? I don't have the temperament. I have no patience.
uh, politics has become so amusing, so amusing globally.
Yeah.
Like I always tell people, look, if you want to get something done and you really want to make something of your life and make it worth it at the end of this road, stay out of
Mhm.
politics. Don't get involved in
Wow.
politics. You
Yeah.
know,
That's an interesting
that's how you're
state.
going to succeed. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I think okay. So this opens up. I want to just talk about this a little bit because
yeah,
it's also very important to me. Government for the people by the people, right? So
yeah,
by the people means that you're supposed to be involved. You're not supposed to be sitting back and let somebody other people making these horrible decisions for you. And yeah, it's okay to send somebody else to do it, but you have to vet them. And vetting them doesn't mean paying attention to the loudest, ugliest sound bites. It means look at their record, read up and educate yourself about these topics, and decide who's best suited to be the statesman, not the politician who's going to be really good at making deals and wheeling and dealing and necessarily. I mean, I'm all for. I want to make billions of dollars for my company, so I'm not saying anything against industry, but politics is not supposed to be about the catch-all for industry and the catcher. I mean, the pitcher toward industry. It's for the people. And so
yeah, yeah,
statesmen, make certain that you're voting for statesmen whose primary mission is about the people. And you can tell that from their voting record. You can tell that from not necessarily the associations that they have, but the favors that they're doing, the kind of people in their network who are uh, the sort of lobbyist that they will entertain, right? Um, Vote for people who are there for the people on issues and step away from voting according to Republican or Democrat or Green. Green's great, but there are other issues in the world, right? And
yeah,
so um, I don't like the idea of being a lemming, and being corralled just to follow a crowd this way or that way, and saying sacrificing half or almost half or just over half of the entire population of my country to um, you know demise because they're not following what I want, based upon Republican or Democrat. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's how we get torn apart. Forfeit it.
divide
For,
and conquer.
forfeit. 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 Forfeit those commitments to any party. Look at the issues, look at the candidates, read what they're about, educate yourself about those issues, and make the best decision without regard to what party they're standing in.
Yeah, 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 100%. Well said. Well said. Couldn't have said it better
It's
myself.
your
I mean,
responsibility. You can't blame it on anybody else if it's going all wrong, if nobody's bothering to pay attention, you know, and committing to, oh well, we can't change anything. You can't fight City Hall. It's like, well, guess what? Your City Hall did. You are City Hall.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This thing about like, voting for people and expecting them to bring the change you want, you know,
Yeah.
get rid of that sort of mentality. If
Yeah.
you want to see change, you need to be the change.
Yeah.
You
And you need
actually
to
need to
write.
go out there.
And you need to write if there's something that you feel passionate about, and that's a matter of public in the public forum. You need to express yourself to your representatives so they know what you're thinking and feeling, because most people are not doing that. And
Mm.
guess what temperature they think the populace has? They think it has the temperature of the people who are writing. So
Yeah,
be
yeah,
one of those voices. Be one of those voices.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
100%. You sure you don't want to run for office?
Absolutely, 100%. It'll never happen. I will give you $1 million.
I think you do a good job. You
I'll
do a
give you
good
$1
job.
million if I ever run for office. That's all I have, but that's not going to happen.
Okay, at least we got this on record. So when it does
We
happen,
got
I'm
it.
going to be like, yo,
Yeah.
remember when you told me that? Now, this was really fun and insightful. So, your book, where will it be available? Where can people get it?
Amazon. You can get it at Amazon. There are websites. If you Google The Essence of a Woman, you'll find it all over social media, mine and other people's. You can actually, I think there's a link somewhere on my social media, and I'll make certain that it gets up there to take you to the location where you actually can purchase it, for sure.
So, is it
Yeah.
going to be like Kindle or just
It,
soft or hardcover?
it can be both. You can get a Kindle version as well. Hmm.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
am definitely going to get a copy. I'm going to get a Kindle copy.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. I'm
Good.
sure it's going to be, going to be exciting and also get to, give me a chance also to get to know you and the others better and, just pass it on.
Yeah,
Just
some
pass it on.
amazing women in that book who I've looked up to for many, many years. So I very much look forward to reading their stories.
Yeah, yeah, same here, same here. And I'll definitely share the link as well within the podcast descriptions and,
Great.
just give people that direction. I'm sure it's going to be a powerful. I mean, I don't want to pin it down. There's millions of people out there that need inspiration, that need motivation. Um, but when it comes to women, they definitely need it. At least in my parts of the world, they definitely need it. They need to
Mhm.
like really just stand up for themselves, take a stand in society, and
Hard.
just be independent. Just be independent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a good percentage out there, probably still the majority percentage out there, where woman is like still, in that whole traditional mindset. Okay, I need like a man. You know,
Hmm.
to actually
Yeah.
support me and I'm going to depend on him. And that's, my start and finish
Hmm.
until the relationship just goes completely sour.
Hmm.
And they just don't know what to do after that. They just
Yeah.
don't know what to do
Yeah.
after that. And it's just like downhill from the
Yeah.
point.
So my
So, like,
mom
I
was,
hope I can use like this just to
yeah.
push that message out there. Look, this is the
Hmm.
direction to go to. It's the same with like with Dr. Dan Coffin, who I had a few weeks ago.
Hmm.
Crazy enough, after we had the conversation and she was touching on suicide, it was literally the day after I came across someone who was in that frame of
Oh.
mind, suicide. And I just like shared all the details with her and it made a difference. It made a difference,
Hmm.
where she could come back, the next day and say, look, this
Hmm.
really did help me. I guess people just need
Right.
direction, It's like stop flipping through social media looking for stuff that's just putting more toxic,
Right.
in your brain and bringing more toxic into your life and just look
Yeah.
for the correct people because they are out there, you
Yeah.
know.
It's true. So I want to just do a little plug for family. My mom was a traditionalist, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her story. She grew up in a very small town in Arkansas, and I mean small. You'd miss it if you drove through it. Almost. That little larger town, it's barely on the
Yeah.
map. And she married her childhood sweetheart when she was very young, and the message that I got when I was growing up is yes, you absolutely have to be married because it is disgraceful for a woman to be alone in the world. It's very traditional, very traditional. And it was married, they married till death did them part, their whole lives. But my mother worked outside of the home. She cooked and she cleaned, and she was a great cook, and she did all the laundry, and she had the sorority, and she had, I get the gardening from her Posey Planters gardening, but she was a teacher as well. She taught Sunday school, but she also taught third grade foundational stuff, and was a huge advocate for education for kids who were in very difficult and impoverished circumstances. She got put in some of the worst schools because she was very vocal about things that should change in American history, saying that Black history is not Black history. Black history is American history, and why is it separated, and why is it optional? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and when she was before my time, I have much older brothers and sisters. I'm the last of the litter, and, or
The
the
baby
latest,
of the family.
yeah, the baby of the family. And my dad was in the Korean War at a time when um, my mom was on a base with her other three kids, and the kids, my two sisters, came home. They were on a bus. They took a bus out of the base to high school, and were sent home because they were Black. And my mother is a force of nature, and that was a very bad idea. And that was the end of segregation in the San Antonio public school system from this traditional mother and wife. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can still be a force of strength, even taking I'm not bashing anybody's values and ways of life, and, saying that I love family. I think it's really precious and valuable. Um, and, I think it's perfectly okay to make that choice, but that does not mean that that's all that you are, and that you don't have a
Yeah,
voice,
yeah.
and that you're powerless.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a strong message. That's a strong message. Like as I said, like my part of the world, there's just so many out there that feel like, we're just powerless. There's nothing we can do. We don't
Hmm.
have a voice. We can't pursue a certain career. We can't pursue our dream because we're in the marriage. So I
Right.
guess that, it comes down to, communication and knowing who you're actually going to be spending the rest of your life, with.
That's right.
Finding someone that actually gets it and gets you and is willing to support you, because we
And
all
be,
have it. It's not like we came into this world, whether you're male or female, with no purpose, We're all
right.
passionate about something.
Yeah. And having that teamwork is everything. I mean, that support from inside of your family just, makes you so much stronger, and the nurturing is just, it's so beautiful. So yeah, it's important to
Yeah,
choose wisely. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, choose wisely. A friend of mine, yesterday, we were actually laughing about it because not sure how the topic actually came up, but it came up about divorce. And then I was like, yeah, there's like no more divorces that happen in these days and actually marriages itself. Because people are just not choosing right, they're just like jumping into these relationships and they want this fairy tale wedding, which look, they do it, cool, no problem. But because they don't know each other and they're not in sync, like a year down the line, even less, it's
Hmm.
divorce.
Yeah.
It's becoming
Yeah.
like a trend,
Yeah. Yeah.
happening in society. Yeah.
Take your time. Definitely take your time. Don't be in a hurry.
Hashtag I'm divorced.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's what's up. Okay, we can laugh about it, but it's like just like the reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so is there anything else that you would love to share with people so people can find you, like your social media accounts and so on? I never really look into that.
Oh
The
yeah.
whole level up.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Anywhere
Okay,
you look,
no,
there
that's
I am. Yeah,
good.
and I'll definitely send you some links. And LinkedIn, I tend to be, have that be more just professional stuff, but the more artistic and fun stuff you'll find on Instagram, and the more personal, what I'm thinking, feeling about things, you might find more of that on Facebook. Yeah, but
Yeah,
look for
yeah,
the blooming zinnies, the blooming zinnies. Look for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, whatever, if you want, you can send me any preferred links that you want to put in the
Okay,
descriptions,
great.
anything that you would love to have there, more than welcome, just for people. I don't want to go out there and put something that's, okay, yeah, it's linked to you, but, it's not something that, where people are going to get proper value out of you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I won't send you very many. They're just, I'll probably also send you the photography link, and maybe to a couple of the songs. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely the music. Please, definitely the music.
absolutely.
So I can stop searching in the wrong places.
I gotta figure out what my stage name is gonna be. I'm all over the place with it, so I'll figure that out soon
I
enough.
think if you keep it as it is, it's like a
Lillian
Stella.
Taylor.
It's like a Stella. It's
Aw.
like, like when I get artists who come to me like, okay, what should I do? Should I keep like with my birth name, or should I actually like, create a stage name for myself? Like for me personally, like I prefer your birth name, like just having Kino there. And I
Mhm,
guess for you as like a trademark and copyright attorney, going with like your so like this is a good question to ask before you go. Like,
mhm,
so if I go, okay,
mhm,
Kino Isaac, okay, I've registered Kino Isaac and so on, but then
mhm,
there's another Kino Isaac out there, and
mhm,
be like, for some reason, it's like a
mhm.
Bradley and a Bradley, a
Uh-huh.
Bradley or Sarah and a Sarah. I say both are artists. Can there ever be like conflict that can occur because of that?
Names? No, no. I mean, there certainly
Names, no.
can't. I mean, you can't. It's very. You can't capture someone's, the right to use a name unless it's like completely and totally exclusively unique. There are too
Yeah.
many. I could never trademark Lillian Taylor. I might. I think somebody has the mark Tailor Made, spelled like the last name for a clothing brand. Um, but yeah, I mean Lillian Taylor. I mean anybody and everybody can use it now. I do have another last name. Taylor's actually my middle name, and my last name is Steinbacher, and that you can find me easily. Nobody has that name.
I think I did see that. So okay, so
Yeah,
where did that come from?
from
Like
my
either
marriage, my
your
last marriage. Yeah, I
okay,
think
okay, okay, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, is
But
that like German, European,
Slovenian.
So-
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. You
yeah.
see, this is what I mean about extraordinary, This is what I'm talking about, you know.
Yeah, he's a
Like,
great guy. He's actually a very, very lovely man. We have. I would love to have stayed married to him, but I think that. I mean, I'm sure he's perfectly fine now, but at the time, he was still suffering from the PTSD from the Yugoslav war, and it made life very, very difficult. Um, and being in completely different cultures, the way of dealing with challenges like that are about as diverse as they come. Um, so now he's remarried. He has a lovely child, and we've been in touch over the years, and I wish him every bit of good and grace and happiness, because he's a very, very wonderful, wonderful human being. So it
yeah,
just
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
work for us. It didn't work for us. So
Yeah, well, it's part of life. It's part of the journey. As
yeah,
long as you can still keep a good relationship afterwards, that's what counts. It doesn't have
yeah.
to be like animosity or hate,
I
between
don't hate
people.
him at all.
You know,
I never
it's
hated
just
him.
it didn't
Yeah.
work. It didn't work.
I just couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
It's
because the world just needs love, as you said.
yeah,
Everybody just needs love.
yeah.
But thank you, Lillian, for taking time to come on the
You're
pod.
welcome.
Much
It was my
appreciated. This was
delight.
fun. We had
Absolutely.
a good
So
few
much
laughs
fun.
on it.
A lot of
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
Really enjoyed the
Okay, so as
conversation.
soon as the episode is up, which will be on Sunday, I'll send through all the links to you and Adrian. And yeah,
Great.
all the best for us to come. I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
How long is the book, by the way?
I think it's 144 pages, if I'm not mistaken. So not too
Yeah,
long.
yeah, that's a perfect number. That's a perfect number. Like these books that go into 300 and 400s. I mean, you know, like I just prefer like like short to the point.
To be able to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Hmm.
like I enjoy reading. It's one of my favorite hobbies. But I like to read books where it's like not too lengthy. Like I'm not sure how your chapters are good. Like this is just like thoughts that's coming to my mind now. But I like the short, like the chapters to be like short.
Yeah.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah. Mine's
You know.
short. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
They're
short and impactful. That's what we need these
yeah.
days. Short,
It's kind of like,
impactful.
if you think
That's what's gonna work.
chicken soup for the soul, I think it's called, like that, like those kind of chapters.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Not the one where it's like taking you like 2 hours to finish one chapter, and you can't even remember how the chapter even started.
Oh, no. Yeah. I do love curling up with a good book on on a cloudy day and or a rainy day and just like nuzzling in and reading for hours and hours. I do enjoy that. I miss that. I
Yeah,
need
do
to
you
do
prefer fiction or non-fiction?
fiction. Fiction, take me away. Give me an adventure.
The thing
Yeah.
is with me, with fiction as well, like I sort of think to myself, like I overthink it when I read some of these books because it's so good. I'm like, this must have happened in the world, you know?
Ooh.
This like must have happened in the world. Like, how did you come up with this?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of it is true. It was very interesting to what is it, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. So that just recently exposed that Ian Fleming was the base for Jean Le. He was actually a spy and the base for Jean Le Carre's a lot of the characters in his books, which was just absolutely fascinating. To me, I thought that was all made up, but I've always been a sucker for a good spy novel. Always.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's a movie up. I'm not sure where the movie is. I checked it was online. It was also about an author in the book, and all the chapters started like coming to life. She started finding herself like in the same situation, like in
Oh,
real life.
interesting.
Also, like around but it's called starts with an A, Agregal or Agregile, something that you can search for. But it's a 2024 movie, and it's quite
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
checking it out. That sounds
it's
fun.
quite good. And it was like
Yeah.
a whole conspiracy around it because it was actually like a private organization that was involved. That's because she was so confused. Like, how is this all happening exactly? Like, the
As
book.
I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's like, quite cool. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like some of these stories that you read these days, like I find it hard to believe like it's something that someone just thought about. Like it must have happened,
Yeah.
somewhere in the world.
Collective
Yeah,
consciousness
yeah,
probably did.
yeah.
Probably did. Yeah. And I like that what you're talking about reminds me of that movie, The Eyes of Laura Mars. Have you seen that? It's quite old.
No, no,
Faye
no, no.
Dunaway movie. And yeah, so her photographs were coming to life in actual crime scenes. Her staged photograph.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
something. That's
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Well, cool. Please enjoy the rest of your day
You
and
too.
the weekend ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
and then maybe
And thank you.
somewhere somehow down the line we'll have a chat again. But yeah, I will
Anytime.
definitely send you an email once I've read your book to give you feedback on it. But I
Great.
got no doubt it's gonna be like exceptionally great.
Thank you. Thank you. This is wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Really enjoyed.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun. It was
Okay.
fun. It's just like how I love to keep the podcast, just like 100% organic, fun, let's laugh, get on the
Nice.
specific topics, touch on it, and yeah, we move forward.
Cool. I
Yeah.
look forward
Okay,
to your
cool.
edits.
Thank you.
Okay. You
Okay, thank
bet.
you so much.
You
All
bet. Take
right,
care.
bye.
Bye
Bye, you
bye.
too.